This is it. This is what you have been waiting for. Your week has not been complete until you become starstruck by none other than the superstar Mike Morris, the man that knows more than he shares. Usually, it's the other way around. People keep talking until they don't know anything. But Mike has so much inside him that it's impossible to drain all the knowledge out of this man. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the voice of Starstruck, the superstar, Mike Morris.
Thank you so much, Jim Rich. I'm going to give myself just a small standing ovation. Hold on. I deserve it. You could have kept going, I'm sure, right? You could have kept going, right?
It's like your knowledge. It's never ending. The praise of you never, it's a bottomless pit.
That's
There's
the way I like to
so
keep it.
much praise we can heap on you. I can spend the whole time we have here praising you, if you'd like.
We can do that. Let's just do that today. Because
Okay.
I'd like to hear it and then leave.
You're looking beautiful.
Ric Flair used to say, never tell people that you think you're handsome or you think someone's handsome. Just say you're flat out pretty. Say you're flat out pretty. Of course, the nature boy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm inexhaustible in the retention of how much people talk about me. I like that more than anything else. Okay, enough of that. What I would like to say is that, enough, right? Is that we've got the Viking season coming up in a real big full scale way in terms of the draft, and it's going to be one of those that we have a question mark beyond belief about what they're actually going to do. You know, with the late first round choice, and what's he going to do with that? Everyone thinks it's going to be the trade back thing, because
I think it almost has to, though, because of the few assets that the Vikings possess. They have no second round pick. They have a couple of thirds and maybe a fourth. Everything else he's traded away.
Yeah, and
So
to get our team in the position that it's in right now,
I mean,
I think he had to,
right, but there are still a lot of holes on this roster to fill. Are you going to go with all college free agents and scrap heap free agents to fill up? There's 20-some slots that they have not.
That's incredible. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that kind of number. Still at this time during this, at this place in the season where it is right now, the off season, no less. But to have that many gaps still looming is a pretty big number. Really, I've never heard of it before.
I know. It's crazy. So that's why I think he doesn't really have a choice.
Just to go numbers.
Unless there's somebody mercurial that fell somehow.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, whatever. We'll worry about the rest of it. As you would say, whatever. We'll take them. And the rest of us, a couple of you guys are going to have to play both ways this season because we don't have enough players.
We're going to go like cement Charlie stuff. Charles Bednarik. We're going to go back to those days where we don't platoon anything anymore. We just go both ways. I played with a guy that went both ways. Roy Green played defensive back and wide receiver for the St. Louis Cardinals. How about that? I played with a guy who actually did that.
Really?
And Deion Sanders did too.
Yeah.
But those are the last two I can remember, actually.
Yeah, Bo Jackson.
Yeah, that's true.
Or no, Bo played baseball, football, but he was just
and Deion.
He could have been a linebacker.
He could have easily been a linebacker. He could have been anything. Yeah. I think he could have played anywhere. And there'd be a case for him being in the Hall of Fame. We can talk about that later. But I think there easily is a case for him. I've known some guys who have made it in the NFL Hall of Fame on 6 years service, which, give or take, that's pretty hard to do. But he's definitely one of those. But now back to this. We're drafting at 20, right? Or 21?
No, it's farther back than that. It's 24.
Oh, I thought, okay. So regardless, now my insiders from years ago would always say that anything past 14 is not necessarily an impact player that is going to come in and be expected to do something right away. Making it the kind of first-round draft choice you could trade back with and pick up more value in that case by packaging something together like that, getting more players and quality than the value of a 23rd, 24th selection of the first round. So value is everything. If you can take a guy like that and pick up two guys that would be equivalent to two bona fide second or third round draft choices, you'd have to say, okay, pretty good. That's pretty good. But really, only the top 14, 15 players in the draft are considered sure thing or impact players. And that's from other people. I mean, that's not me. I believe that it's more than that, but they.
I mean, obviously you hit in later rounds, but the odds of hitting are substantially greater the deeper into the draft you go.
There's no question about it. And I think that with an offensive lineman, you can absolutely find a great, great player still in the second day, maybe third day, because they are out there. If you know how to judge and look at and read into offensive line play, you can take someone that no one talks about. If you know him well enough and you see the things that you want to see, there's a good chance that you can find a guy that no one is wanting to talk about that could absolutely come in and light the place up. So that's what we have to hope he's up to.
So your thought initially is that he will backpedal.
He'll backpedal
as well,
and I think he will, because I do believe in the value of a late first rounder bringing about more value to a team who needs numbers like we do with all the voids than just trying to land and hope for the best with the 23rd, 24th pick of the draft.
Because there's no glaring need. After what they've done in free agency, they've filled a lot of the holes that we were all nervous about.
Oh, yeah.
The middle of the offensive line, the middle of the defensive line. They went out and got pieces to solidify those that were considered weaknesses. You brought in a brand new center. You didn't have to swap out centers.
You didn't.
But they did. So, I mean, you see all these moves that they made. So, as you know, you always hear, well, we just took the best player available. You really can right now because there's no massive hole. You know, you were worried about Aaron Jones in the running game. Well, they went and signed another running back. Yeah. So there's not a lot of real big glaring needs. You know, cornerback, you can always use those. Other safeties, something along those lines. But overall, there's not something that's like, if they don't get this in the draft, they're stuck.
Yeah, it's a matter of being really, really solid on what that need is, and can you dial someone in that you know you can get your hands on without someone sniping it from you. But that I'm all about that. If you can get to a point where you think you have a really great shot at making a run for the Lombardi, I mean, a very realistic chance. You've got that kind of talent in place. And we've talked about the upgrades at offensive line, defensive line. That has definitely been addressed. If you feel like you're in that position and you have 2 or 3 spots, you'd like to either land one more solid player to back it up or possibly challenge for the spot in camp, then you have to be dialed in. You have to trust your scouting department. You have to trust your pro personnel and definitely the college draft, if you know what you're doing there, to land that 1 or 2 players of need and come out on top. And you have to hope all along that all of those places that you think you have secured will hold up for an entire season and not have one of the big name players go down with an injury. That it takes a little luck,
right,
you know, to make it all the way to the top. And so that's the thing you're up against, is not only being right in the way you select things and the way you trade for things during the season, but health, just trying to, and that comes down to the strength team too. I mean, that comes down to preventive maintenance and trying to find a way to keep those players out there for all 16 games and then the playoffs. 16, I just said that. 17 games and the playoffs. So it's that's what we're up against. And you mentioned when you came in today, Jim, about the quarterback play.
Well,
and there being some things floating around about Aaron Rodgers still.
Yeah, and until the Vikings make a move, these two are going to be hooked together. Sports Illustrated is reporting that they have found out part of what Aaron Rodgers' sales pitch was to McCarthy or O'Connell.
Yeah.
O'Connell and Kwesi about what he was willing to do. And he basically came to him and said, just 1-year deal. That's all I want. Let's take a run at a Lombardi. And I will do everything I can to get you where you want it. He said, I'll mentor the young guy. I'll help him along, whatever. But I want to be here, and let's take a serious run at doing this.
It all sounds good, doesn't it?
So he put it all on the table and said, let's do this. And the Vikings said, we'll think about it.
We're good. Yeah, for the time being, we're good. And I mean, for him to have to listen to that, to have to be heard, but not necessarily taken seriously.
Right.
They
It's
heard
never
you, but
been,
it's never been like this.
been that way for him.
And for him, he's by doing what he's doing and by putting the cards out there on the table like that, he essentially breaks down his negotiating leverage. I think it just softens it, because all they have to do is wait, and then whatever price he gave them at that 1 year would have to be reduced, I'm sure, greatly. And then what you really have to understand is that when you bring a guy like that in, lately, he's going to be the kind of guy that will say whatever it takes to get in the door, and then get in the door and not mentor the kid and just take it all over by
No.
I mean, isn't that the one thing you know he's going to do, is that once he gets in, he's not going to spend any time with McCarthy, and he's not going to, do anything extra other than get himself out on the field and be the unbelievable guy that he thinks he is. And let's face it, no one would have an argument with his talent in the past and what he has the ability to do. There's no one that would have an issue with that. But he is that guy now where you just kind of scratch your head and wonder what's going to show up when he shows up. He really has changed. Over the last 4 or 5 years, he's changed dramatically, I think.
But maybe he has now changed again. After getting kicked to the curb, and
he did get kicked to the curb.
You know what? Kicked out of him this past season. Maybe he realizes that, you know what? I guess I can't be GM and coach and get all my friends on the same team and we go out and play street ball and win.
Yeah.
Maybe he had another dark cave moment and realized that, okay, I got to be a good soldier. If I want to get out of this sport with one more ring, this is the best shot. And Brady was asking about, well, why not the Steelers? Steelers aren't as close to the top as the Vikings are.
No, they're not.
If the Vikings
they'll get the most out of what they've got because of Tomlin. But yeah, you're right.
Yes. If the Vikings got exceptional quarterback play, and that defense, again, is a top 5, all of a sudden, you're looking at a team again, 14 wins. And hopefully with Rodgers, if he's the guy, and they're rolling along like that, he doesn't melt down the last 2 weeks in the biggest games of the year, which he's melted down.
He has.
Plenty of them.
He actually has.
Yes. NFC championship games.
As great as he is, or was, I mean, he's had several, great runs with the Packers, of course, but one Super Bowl win. That's it. He's got one win.
What is he, 1-4, 1-5 lifetime in NFC championship games?
I think so. Not to be too much further along than Brett Favre himself. Very much the same. He went to a lot of NFC championship games and just could not get the last ticket to the big show. But so maybe this is part of legacy too, for him to think as much as he does of himself.
Because he knows he needs another ring to pass Favre.
Oh yeah,
he needs another ring to pass Favre.
For
right
sure.
now,
for sure.
Brett Favre, in the eyes of the legion of Packer fans and NFL observers, still put Favre, I think, ahead of Rodgers.
I do too.
And if he came here or somewhere in this final stop, took the Steelers, they win a Super Bowl, all of a sudden that changes. That changes the perception of what you have done. And then all those numbers that seem hollow now, his 4 MVPs that seem kind of hollow, all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe there were other factors in those setbacks where he didn't get over the top.
Yep.
And people gloss over those other car wrecks of efforts that he put out in NFC
Put
championship
some meltdowns
games.
out there, in fact, just like Brett. I mean, I don't know why people are more willing to forgive Brett Favre for some of the meltdowns.
Because it's charismatic.
That's it.
You if you endear yourself to the fan base, they look over the garbage.
Oh yeah.
And they just remember the good times.
I agree. I think with Aaron Rodgers, I think he had a good thing going where I think he was running neck and neck with Brett Favre in terms of fanfare. And then he just kind of, he laid an egg. Over the last 3 or 4 years, he hasn't done himself much good in terms of what legacy might be someday.
Right.
I mean, he's really hurt that. I mean,
Right.
as good as he's been, and I don't know if there's anyone that's been any better. At one point, when he was at the very top of his game, he was good, and I wouldn't put anyone ahead of him. But he has hurt himself. He has really been his own, enemy in most of this thing. Coming down the last 3 or 4 years, for me at least, that's the way I see it. And I think if you bring a guy like that in here, number one, you tell J.J. McCarthy, what we told you about being a franchise guy. Well, we don't think so anymore until this guy has one more year. It wouldn't make any sense. You'd be coming across as hypocritical and not a man of your word to JJ. And I think that hurts the kid more than helps him, for sure. And if he's picking up on all the offense and all the passes that they say he is that he's like a sponge. He's been building on that now, even since last year when he went out early in the preseason, is that he has checked in and made great gains now, even in the training that they've done, OTA type stuff right now. I guess he's really picking up. I guess his football IQ, being high as it was, is even better now, is what they're saying. So if they're really telling you the truth, they won't make a play unless they have to. The old Bud Grant mentality is, let's not make a decision until we have to. Yeah. And I mean, if it comes down to JJ's not looking so good and the other guy's still available, which more than likely he will be, because they can always make a late play and go get him and, hey, you want to still play football? Because that would be, I think, probably the only way they would entertain that thought. JJ gets injured again, or
but here's my situation that I think the Vikings are putting themselves in by dragging this out. Usually a backup quarterback is not a talker. And how many episodes of Starstruck have we burnt talking about backup quarterbacks?
I think it's because we have everything else. We kind of are in that position where we think we've got everything kind of lined up.
But I'm saying the reason everybody is on edge is because McCarthy lasted one game last year.
That's it.
And fell apart.
And that's why we're on this one.
And so he's coming back. So you don't have an insurance policy. We've seen what happens when you don't have an insurance policy.
We sure have.
AKA Kirk Cousins a couple of seasons ago. Then here comes the Pasternak. And then comes Jaron Hall. And then comes Mullins, the mall slinger. Yeah, and then it was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, you didn't have anyone legitimate to back up.
So then you went out and you got Bradford, and he was great. And you had your backup.
Yes.
And last year, McCarthy goes down, we're fine. You rolled right through it. So now, after you learned that lesson, lived it 2 years ago, last year you saw how important it is to have somebody capable to step in if your best laid plans go sideways. Then you had him there. You could have kept
Daniel
Bradford
Jones also.
instead.
Daniel Jones was there. We had it right
yes.
here. That
Lock
was
the door. You're not leaving. Sign this piece of paper, or like
we would have
did,
nothing to talk about if they just kept him, I think.
Right.
If they,
or like you did with your teammates, we're taping you to the goalpost till you change your mind. we'll put a pen in your mouth.
We have ways.
And we'll put the contract under your mouth when you're upside down.
We can make this work.
Blood rushes to your head, and
Yeah.
you figure out that either my head's going to pop or I signed this contract. He would have stayed.
No question.
But now, this is what I mean. We should be talking about this right now.
We shouldn't be. But the day that they let go of Daniel Jones was the day I started saying, you know what? We were looking really good in terms of depth. The starting positions all look good. The quarterback, we don't know because we let go of everyone. That was the talker right away.
Yeah,
right away, we don't have the
backup,
backup, and that was the one thing, like you said, it's the one thing we had to have after McCarthy went down last year, and we lucked out on the Darnold thing. We just lucked out, period. So the fact is they had the next best backup quarterback on hand right here in the building still, and they let him walk. So that's why the talk continues now. That's why this is the one raging thing that still keeps going on with the media and with these podcasts, is that the Vikings they have an Achilles heel. They don't have a backup quarterback, and they have a rookie that's never played a down. He's not a rookie. He's a one-year player now, and he hasn't played a regular season game. Then they're calling him a franchise guy, which is absurd. I mean, it's just absurd that he would use that word for a guy that hasn't come in and played a single regular season game yet.
Right.
I don't care what you thought of him in the draft, and he came off a national championship. Okay, that's great, but doesn't make him a franchise quarterback in the NFL. No one gets that rite of passage. Nobody.
No.
You got to come in and prove yourself, and he has not done that. One or two good balls. I read about, he looked really good in the face of adversity when there was a blitz. There were 3 blitzes thrown at him in this preseason game that he played in. Shut up. What are you talking about? Like, he really knew what he was doing on those 3 plays. Give me a break. I mean, whoever we played, I don't even know who it was when he went down.
Those are the Raiders.
Okay, so that's
powerhouse.
even more. That's even
They
more
were a
reason to not.
powerhouse.
That's not even. That's more reason not to think about how good he is. Okay, franchise on that. Okay.
You didn't get to play the start.
Anybody playing against him at that point probably wasn't the starting defense, and even if it was the starting defense, it would be the most vanilla defense ever. They don't show anything in preseason, so he didn't see anything. He saw a guy rushing, blitzing. Who cares? That's everyday football. I'll show you the article.
Okay.
It is hilarious to think that they actually, wade into that with any merit, but they did. So there you go.
Yeah. You know what? I think a good idea right about now is to perhaps spend a little time, right? You got your house. We can make this analogy here. Your house, it's perfect.
You're building
right?
your house, right?
Except you got to fix
Projects.
one thing. You got to fix one thing to make sure it is complete. You have yourself a Super Bowl contending home if you take care of this. So you need to go out and get parts and get quality help from people that know how to win Super Bowls. And so if you want to do something like that, where would you perhaps suggest the listeners go?
We have to have a place. I've got 4. Owned by the same family. 4 places owned. It rhymes. A little rhyme to it. Ace is the place. But it's really Polici's Ace Hardware. I like going that way. When I first start talking about Ace Hardware, is that it's Polici's Ace Hardware. And of course, you have to try to say, Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks. And I've been saying folks all night, like 7,000 times, just to try and get that one word right. Still messed up every time, but take my word for it. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks because they've got 4 places for you: Zumbrota, Farmington, Rosemount, and Egan, where you can stop off and tap into a family who's been in the business for 30-some years, and they know what they're doing. You don't. I don't care if it's the Super Bowl at your house and you need one thing, like maybe a great deck, right? You don't know. If you want the superstar to have a superstar deck, you got to go to a place where people know what they're talking about. They can put you onto the new tools, the new power tools. They get great discounts on DeWalt, $30 cash back discount on DeWalt, and $20 on the Craftsman. So get down there and do that if you have that project, or if you have the paint issue, like I have about every other day because I put a javelin through the wall, having an indoor track meet, or I shoot an arrow through someone's house. I have to run over there and touch it up a little bit too. So you got to match paint. It's not easy. Go down to Ace, one of the Polici's Ace locations, and have them match some paint so you can come back and paint your neighbor's home that you ran an arrow through. Do that. That's a true story, by the way. I'm not making that up. So that's what I have for you. Run down there. Amanda Stender, great gal that came in and actually did the show with us. I'm going to have her come back in again. Put a deal together for us to do some Ace on this show and on the Jim Bob Sports Jamboree, I might also add. So we're going to take good care of business and take care of these projects and do it the right way. Ace is the place. Helpful hardware, folks. Don't know if you should hear the L at all.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think you need it.
Okay. Well, then good. You have to find a place and a way to go down there, though, right?
Yeah, well, that's ideally. I mean, they are conveniently located, and you may be lucky enough to live close enough by. But a lot of times when you're doing projects, you need to haul stuff. And you don't want to walk
and we're not talking
a
about
ladder
U-Haul.
down the sidewalk by
No.
yourself.
No, you don't want to do that. I mean, Ace would be the place to get the ladder. We get that. But U-Haul is not the place to get the unit to drive. You said haul, and I thought you said something. I don't have that. I don't have that.
No.
I can use my own truck.
You never show up in a U-Haul.
Never. I would never do that unless someone hauled me down there. Then they would haul me in. but large box truck. But look, Dodge of Burnsville is the only way to go. If you're looking for a new or used car or truck, it's in Burnsville. Dodge of Burnsville, get it? All goes hand in hand. 35W Cliff Road, Burnsville. Stop off. Say hi to the good kids down there for me. Everyone's a kid. I'm 64, so who cares? Everyone's younger than I am. I still beat everyone up, though. Doesn't matter. I would beat Adam Saba up. I could let him tag team with his old man, Mark Saba. I'd still work him over. Is that the right thing to say when you're doing a podcast and reading for the good sponsorship? Probably not. Probably not. But I would. I'd do it. I'd beat him up. Go down there and tell them. And they know it. They know it because I've wrestled both of them. Trust me, when I worked down there. So head on down there and get yourself a great deal on a car or truck, okay? New or used, and you'll be happy that you did. Bypass all the other trash compactors as you get down there, okay? No more garbage. Dodge of Burnsville. Do it.
Well, and one side note, you mentioned you worked there. Right?
Yeah.
So you're not just endorsing a dealership because, they're going to do this for me. Oh, this is great.
Right.
No, you actually work there. So you know the guts of the operation and how they actually take care
That's right.
of their customers.
I do.
Whether they're there to get their vehicle fixed or they're there to buy a new car. And that's what makes your endorsements so spot on.
I'm telling you, my dad was in the business, Dodge, Chrysler, and Plymouth. So I grew up in a Dodge dealership when I was a kid until I got out of college. And so it's a good fit for me. And I talk the talk because my dad sold the same thing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try and sell like my dad did. He wanted me to come back and take the business after I was done with football. I didn't want to do that. So, but I had the opportunity to go in there and see what I could do with cars. And I sold a lot of cars in about 10 months. I sold like 140 units in 10 months.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And
I call you down there. You're like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
I got this car. I got to take care of.
And so it comes from the heart, though. I mean, I've sold it because I thought of my old man every time I walked in there, every day, every single day. But they're good people. So get down there, great service department, and that would be the way to do it. Dodge of Burnsville, head on down there and tell them Superstar Mike Morris sent you.
All right, your final thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. Do you think the Vikings can browbeat him enough where they finally have him as putty in their hands and will do what they want? Because if this season goes and McCarthy, either A, isn't effective, or B, gets nicked up again, and we're stuck looking for anything because Rodgers is like, well, no, I'm not going to jump into the middle of this. And you're stuck with whatever's out there. Ryan Tannehill wheeled in from the rest home or something.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't play all last year.
That could go for Aaron Rodgers, too.
That's the point we're at now. It's because they let all these other people go.
Yep.
So why would you let all these other names go that weren't expensive?
Know.
You got to have a plan.
You do.
And so my thought is that they're just going to make this guy eat so much crow that he will come in here, sign for a veteran's minimum, and we got a gun to his head. You make one wrong statement to Pat McAfee on that podcast, and you might as well just stay there.
Yeah, just go ahead.
You're not coming back.
Yeah, that's for sure. If you say something stupid on a podcast, like beating up people, sponsors, or shooting arrows through someone's house and admitting that it's a true story, which it is, that's the same thing. Aaron Rodgers, by the way, I've never seen him look so desperate or sound so desperate. Can they actually browbeat him into the dirt until they get him for their terms and waiting until they actually need him, like we talked about?
Or do you say
the answer is I think maybe you could do that. I think he's just full enough of himself that if he's still sitting out there with like 2 games gone in the season and something happens where he's being called on the team that he was going to take a Lombardi trophy run with, and he knows O'Connell and all this other stuff, I think he swallows his pride a little bit and comes in and tries to save the day and be the big timer that he is sure that he is. And he is if he just settled down. If he'd settled down and go back to what was real football, I think he still is that. He's still very capable. I'm sure he is. But can they actually soften him to the point where he would have to come in on their terms, on their timetable? I almost want to say yes on that one. I mean, I almost when you come down to, and maybe if it comes down to another injury or just bad play, just he's not playing well, McCarthy. You probably have to go in at his terms to get him at that point. I think he has you over the barrel because now you got all this team sitting there, and you were wrong about the kid, and now what do? What do you do now? I think maybe he has you, and probably gets the money he's looking for, another year and another run at the Lombardi Trophy. Who knows? But I say almost. Yeah, I shouldn't even say almost. That's not the way to say this. I say they go get him, and it's at Aaron Rodgers' terms. What do you think? Just a quick thought. What do you think of that?
I like that. I mean, I think if you can beat him down, I think if you get to like week 2 and McCarthy's ineffective, then all the cards go back to Rodgers.
I think so.
And then you're looking at paying him $40 million, and it's guaranteed, fully guaranteed, and you're stuck. And he's going to come in here and throw the ball wherever the hell he wants.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
If you get him here, ground floor.
Into the season, I think then he'd have to take a chunk. He'd have to take a bite out of what he. Now you're coming on Viking terms. Yeah, I agree totally.
You can't wait until you need him. You have to have the upper hand. That we're fine. And if they approach it that way and they can hold the gun to his head versus the other way around, then it's fine. But if he comes in on his terms, look out.
And they better hope they're right? They better hope they're right about McCarthy and him being able to take off and play all 17 games, then get into the playoffs and not have to worry so much about a backup. Who do they have as a backup right now anyway? I would
Brett Rippon.
Oh. We're set. We're fine. We're good. Tell Rodgers just to go fly a kite. We got Brett Rippon. Brett, right?
Yes.
Well, it's Brett. At least it's Brett. It's half of Favre, right? Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I think you know what. You better be right. And oh man, a young kid like that hasn't played a regular season game. I don't get it. But anyway, you got to find something to back it up for the season. That's all the time we've got, though, kids. Enough time. All said and done. Everything's in the book. Catch us next week on the Starstruck podcast. I'm saying goodbye. And thank you also to Jim Rich and Brady Muller and myself, of course, the superstar Mike Morris. You can hear us same time, same place, because you can turn on a podcast anytime you want to. Just go ahead and find your way to it. All right. And we'll talk to you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.